Biggest pet peeve, when people say that's just how I am or that's just how I've always been. Bullshit. Bullshit. No, you can change. You're not who you think you are. You are who you choose to be. And who you choose to be is dependent on your values. You're listening to Say It Anyway, the podcast for people who know they're meant for more and are done holding back. I'm Maggie Marcus, and here we talk courage, self-trust, and what it takes to lead yourself, even when it scares the hell out of you. What if the story that you've been telling yourself about who you are, the kind of person that you are, the beliefs that you have about yourself, what if those weren't actually true? What if they were just stories that your mind created to make sense of some of the things that were happening in your life or to protect you from the things that were happening around you in your life? And what if they're not actually true? What if you're clinging on to beliefs that aren't serving you anymore? Instead, they're just limiting you, holding you back, keeping you stuck, keeping you frustrated, and keeping you at a distance from the person that you actually want to be. And what if you could change that? Because it's just who I am, it's just how I've always been, is bullshit. You can change it. And not by just thinking more positively or doing affirmations or trying harder or just like hustling your way into it. It's by deliberately, very intentionally choosing how you see yourself, building evidence in small ways daily to show you who you actually are, to see yourself in a new, more empowering way, in a way that actually serves you and your goals and doesn't keep you stuck. Because I know you are tired of getting in your own way. I've been there. And you're wondering, like, what would it actually be like if I actually just believed in myself? And I didn't just say it, I actually freaking believed it. And I acted as though I believed it. To say it is one thing and to show it is another. And I know it can be so frustrating, especially when you're doing the work and maybe you even have some good days, but then you're right back to doubting yourself. And you've probably said something like this to yourself, like, I guess maybe it's just how I am. Maybe I'm just not the kind of person who can do that. Maybe I'm not confident enough. Maybe I'm not brave enough. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not meant for this. And it feels like a truth sometimes because you can pull up all these examples and all these ways that show you that's true. But what if it's not? What if it's not? What if those beliefs were just ones that you formed before you really had any say? And you keep on collecting evidence that those beliefs are true ever since you initially formed those beliefs. Without even realizing it, without even questioning them. See, your self-concept is a collection of the beliefs that you hold about yourself. It's the way that you see yourself. It's the way that you see yourself, the way you define yourself, the way you evaluate yourself. It's this internal picture that we have of who we are, right? And what we stand for, what we think we're capable of, what we might think our limitations are, right? So it could be, I am, it usually follows this sentence, right? I am a shy person. I am disciplined, or I am lazy. I'm a gamer. I'm a stoner. I'm a risk taker. I'm funny. I'm the life of the party. Like, these are beliefs that we formed about who we are. And think about, why did you form those beliefs? What actually tells you, when you think about it, that you are those qualities? Like, how do you know that you're a funny person? You probably can think of examples, and your mind probably serves up memories of you being someone who makes other people laugh, being clever and witty or humorous, being the life of the party, right? So at some point in your life, you had an experience, you made a generalization, and that formed a belief. And that feeds who you think you are. And once you formed that belief, now we have what's called the okay, that's such a mouthful. The RAS, which is a part of your brain that acts as like a search engine for your beliefs. It's basically a bias in our brain that looks for evidence outside to confirm what we already believe. So if I believe that I'm a funny person, now I'm more likely and more attuned to pick up on examples or moments that prove to me that that belief that I have about myself is true. Now this works in the opposite direction. So if you have beliefs that aren't serving you, like I'm really lazy, now your RAS is looking for examples to confirm that to you. The RAS helps you see what you want to see, and in doing so influences your actions. Even if you're thinking, well, Maggie, I don't want to see that I'm a lazy person. But the fact of the matter is that if you believe that you are, your brain is picking up on that. It wants to validate what you think is true. So on some level, you might think, well, I don't want to believe that. But because you do, your brain isn't really knowing the difference. It's just going to find information around you to validate that. You could have gone through your whole life believing, oh, I'm an anxious person. And then you went out and kept collecting evidence that was true. Or you believed, oh, I'm not quick on my feet, or I'm not good enough. Without even realizing it, because the RAS is happening on an unconscious level, you were looking for evidence to prove that that was true without even realizing that you were doing it. We formed a lot of our beliefs that we have about ourselves at a very young age, right? Before we really even knew how to deal with the challenges of life. So we created oftentimes a lot of limiting beliefs. And some of the beliefs that we have, they definitely do support us and the identity that we want to have. But many of them, more often than not, do not serve us. They are limiting us. They are holding us back. Unconsciously, they are affecting every thought, every feeling, every action we take or don't take. But the thing to know about this before you go beating yourself up is that no part of you is malicious. There's no part of you that wants bad for yourself. Every part of you wants you to win. Okay? So even these limiting beliefs or what you feel like might be sabotaging behavior, it has a positive intention. It has a positive intention. Beneath it, it feels like it's probably protecting you from something, right? So maybe that's why we formed them in the first place. A lot of times, these limiting beliefs was to protect ourselves from feeling hurt, feeling pain, feeling rejected, feeling judged. So we put up and created walls and defense mechanisms and all these things, or we started to create habits of behavior that were intended to protect us. But now as we grow older, they're protecting us from the very things that we want. Maybe we put up walls to protect ourselves from letting people see who we are. We didn't want to feel the pain of judgment or rejection. Or maybe we put up walls to keep people at a distance emotionally. But what we really want now is connection on deep relationships, filling relationships. So now they're not serving us. They were there to protect us at one point. They helped us survive to some degree. But now it's like your iPhone, right? Like you need an update. It's outdated. The model, the software that you're running is outdated. And we need to do an update on you, on your phone. Because when we believe something, it's become our truth, right? Like think about religion, politics, love, like the beliefs that you have in those spaces. When you truly believe something, that is it. That's the truth of it. And it's the same thing about the beliefs that you have about yourself. But when was the last time you fact checked the beliefs that you have about yourself? Because if they're not serving you anymore, why are you hanging on to them? And yeah, they might still be trying to protect you, but that protection isn't actually getting you what you really want, which is to show up and authentically express yourself, to be able to market yourself, to be able to start the business, launch the project, to be able to ask for the promotion, to be able to be the leader in your team. Like, those beliefs that you have are really holding you back from the person that deep down you know you could be and you really, really want to be. See, your self-concept is behind every decision that you make. It is running the show. Every time you hold back, every time you don't speak up, every time you shrink, or even when you decide to go for it, your beliefs about yourself are running the show. You are not reacting to the world. You're reacting to your beliefs about yourself in the world. If you believe you are capable and worthy, you will show up differently than if you believe that you're not. You could be in the same rooms, be presented the same opportunities, and yet have completely different experiences based on what you believe about yourself going in. And most of us don't even know that we are doing it. We don't recognize that. But you can't free yourself from a cage that you don't see. We've got to be able to zoom out and recognize and see the beliefs that are holding us back and start to question, to challenge them, and to reshape them into ones that are actually going to serve us and empower us and align us to who we ultimately want to show up as. And here's where it gets a little more practical, okay? Because self-concept work isn't just about recognizing and challenging your limiting beliefs. It's about identifying who you actually want to be. And that starts with your values. Your values are your guiding compass. When you are unsure of what direction to move in or what decision to make, you can always come back to your values. Your values are what is important to you. Now, most people talk about values in a different way than I'm thinking about them in the way that I talk about them. A lot of people think about values, oh, I value health, family, success, these kinds of things. I'm not talking about values in that way. I'm talking about values when it comes to who you are. When in the way that you express your values, in the ways that you embody them as qualities of who you are. I'm going to give you an example, okay? Like, let's just say I value courage, okay? I value expression. I value honesty, connection, creativity. If those are important qualities to me, then when I am embodying creativity, and I believe that creativity is important to me, I value it. If I am an embodiment and I express that, then I am living in alignment with that value. And when you are in alignment with your values, even in small moments, that's when your self-esteem grows naturally because you are being what is important to you. You are embodying it. So let's say you take something like family. People say family's a value of mine. What is it about family that you value? Well, it's connection. Okay, so connection is a value of yours. Are you a connected person? Okay, no. How can you embody being connected? When you embody it through your actions and you are living that out, now you're going to feel in alignment. Happiness doesn't come externally. It happens when we are aligned with our values and we are walking that out day to day, taking action in the direction that we are called to go. That's where confidence grows. That's where self-belief grows, self-esteem grows. And that's where you start to feel an inner sense of fulfillment and purpose, and you have clarity. Until you update your self-concept and begin to see yourself as someone who has the qualities that are in alignment with your highest values, it doesn't matter what you do. You will never find fulfillment, the fulfillment that you're looking for. It really comes from tapping into and expressing what is important to us, being in alignment with that. So when I started to really understand some of the stuff about self-concept and my values, I immediately started to identify what values and qualities were most important to me. I started working with them one by one. And for example, courage was a big one for me. I value courage deeply because courage opens the pathway to everything that I want in my life, to greater fulfillment, greater satisfaction in my relationships, to greater love, deeper love, to impact, to living in purpose, within my career. Like, courage is huge for me. And what I needed to do when I started to recognize, okay, courage, and this is what you do. When you find a value that you want to express, that you want to embody, be more of, or take on, you've got to define it for yourself in a very simple way, as if you were to explain it to a 3-year-old. How would you define this? So for me, courage, acting in the face of fear. Like acting in the face of fear. Very simple. I feel fear. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to say it anyway. Shameless plug for my show, I guess, there. But that says like how important this work is to me. I literally named my show that. But when I define it, here's why I want to define it simply. Because it makes it a lot easier for me to find examples of it throughout my life, throughout my past experiences, my current ones, and for me to identify it in future experiences. So when I say courage is me acting despite fear or in the face of fear, I can look back and find throughout my entire life in various contexts, I can look at health, I can look at finances, career, personal stories, family, relationships. I can go through different contexts of my life. Like literally, I kind of imagine a timeline of my life, and I find examples and memories that are me feeling a bit of fear and doing something anyways. So that could mean big things like when I picked up my entire life, took my savings, broke up with my boyfriend, and decided that I was going to move to Chiang Mai, Thailand. It could be a big thing like that. It took a lot of courage. Or it could even be a small thing that I used to be scared of playing music that I liked in the car for people. I didn't want him to judge me. So it could be a small thing as of like, I remember when I played my own music and like played the songs that I wanted to hear and what I wanted to like, despite whoever was in the car. Or it could be even something as small as like saying where I wanted to go for dinner and like asserting my own opinion. Or moments where I was scared to post something vulnerable, like on social media, and I did it anyway. So I can go through my life and find all these experiences and say, that is evidence of me being a courageous person. And I put it in I like to call it my courage bucket. I've got little buckets for each of my values. And they're all like kind of spread out across my brain and my mind. They kind of like live up here around my head. So boom, plop into the courage bucket. So what I want to do is find all those examples, past experiences, because what I'm doing is I am strengthening the belief that I am a courageous person. It's kind of like if I'm building a table, then and the table is like courage. Now I'm finding evidence. I am putting legs for that table to stand on. And the more legs that I have that I can add, the sturdier and the stronger the belief. And when that belief is sturdy and strong, then I will act that way naturally because I believe it's who I am. We always act in accordance with what we believe about ourselves, whether it be good or bad. So find evidence, big or small, and add those legs to your table for whatever that value is. Because your brain doesn't distinguish between big courage and small courage. It just registers it, right? I did a courageous thing. I was courageous. I am someone who does that. I am someone who is courageous. And over time, that evidence compounds because now you've got the bucket. And now because you've defined it to yourself, your RAS is going to start to look for examples now in your life where you are being that. It's going to clock it more. It's going to clock it a lot easier. And because you've defined it, you will now notice opportunities to be more of that. So if I am a courageous person and I know that courage to me is acting in the face of fear when I am in a moment of fear, then I can go back and reference my evidence bucket and remind myself I am a courageous person and I have evidence that supports that. And now I'm noticing the opportunity to be more of that. So I will lean more into that. See, and that's how it compounds. Now I want to say this, that your brain is probably going to push back here at some point, especially because there's some beliefs that are very easy for you because you have lots of examples and you actually already to somewhat degree believe that you are that. You just need help reinforcing it and strengthening it. But there's also going to be the times where you're like, well, your brain's going to serve up the memories of the times where you didn't speak up, where you did hold back, that you weren't courageous, for example. And that's normal. That's just your brain protecting the old story. So you're not trying to erase those moments. You are just deliberately choosing to look for the other evidence. The times you did show up, the times you did choose courage, even the small ones, right? Because that evidence exists too. And here's an example I love, because I remember when I first started this work, I wanted to work on the quality of consistency. And Lord knows there are many examples where I was not consistent in how I showed up for myself. But guess where I was? I'm damn consistent with brushing my teeth. I brush my teeth every morning and every night. Right? So that's an example, a very small thing where I'm like, oh wait, I am consistent. I'm consistent, right? And there's going to be evidence that tells me I'm not. But what I'm doing is I'm looking for ways that I am that quality. That's what I want to see. I want to look for those examples. Our memories are always going to pull up the ways that we aren't the thing. But let's start looking for ways that we are. There was a really huge study done with over 12,000 journal entries from 238 employees. And it found that capturing these small wins helps increase motivation and build self-confidence. So the more you look for it, the more your brain tries to find it automatically. That's how we start to kind of shift some of the stories and the beliefs that we have about ourselves. We build new evidence. We're not trying to fight the old ones. Although if you want to delve deeper into some of these tactics, there are ways to, using neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, there are ways to go in and NLP says that we can modify, we can alter the way we are filtering information, processing information, or even go in and changing, modifying older memories. That's a whole other conversation. But right now, what we're talking about is just building new evidence that you are what you value, what is important to you. Capture your wins, capture your successes, clock where you are being the value that is important to you. You can even do this in a notes app. You can do this in your journal. I kind of have like a mental folder, but for a while I even did like my greatest hits, right? I would write it all down and have it somewhere where I could see it. It was like in my closet. I saw it every day when I went to get dressed. I would write down all the ways in which I was, examples. All the examples were like listed for my value, or the examples that showed me that I had been the person and was the person, am the person that I want to be. You can also keep folders, right? Of what other people have said to you. If you're a coach, like a file of your testimonials, records of things that you can reflect on and remind yourself, and use that literally as evidence for yourself. So where you can start with all of this is pick a value that you want to embody. Okay, even just one. You can work on one every week, every couple of weeks, whatever, right? And define it very simply, so you could explain it to a 3-year-old, right? Courage is acting despite fear. Or expression is saying what's true for me. Or connection is showing up openly with people. Or it's saying how I feel. And then go and look for evidence that you already are that from your past experiences. And it might be hard to pull up memories from like way back when, but as you start to direct your mind and your brain that this is what you're trying to do and this is what's important to you, you start to try to like write down some of this stuff, or like communicate to your brain that you're trying to pull some of this stuff up, it will start to come out more and more, maybe over time. But just go throughout your whole life and find the big moments, find the tiny ones. Like I said, you can even prompt your brain with like context for, a certain age or a certain context of life, like in health or in relationships or family, right? But write it down. Build your evidence buckets, and then start noticing opportunities in your daily life to choose that value in moments where maybe habitually you wouldn't have, where you've been conditioned to act a different way, in a way that doesn't serve you. Now you can choose to honor the value that's important to you and strengthen the belief and the way that you want to see yourself as someone who is courageous, a risk taker, disciplined, consistent, a go-getter, right? Whatever that is for you. Because once you start to genuinely see yourself as that person, the behavior will follow. It's not always perfect. It's not all at once. Gradually, it will become more natural. And that's how our identity can start to shift, okay? Not through willpower or force, through evidence. See, a lot of people try to make the mistake. They try to go at self-esteem directly, right? Just be more confident, just kind of willpower your way through it. But self-esteem is an evaluative process. It is an evaluative awareness of, are we reflecting our values or not? Your self-esteem goes up when you are in alignment with your values, what's important to you. And that can only happen when you see yourself as someone who embodies those values as qualities of who you are. So if you believe yourself to be, plug in your value, courageous, hardworking, consistent, persistent, loving, if you believe yourself to be that, then your behavior will change. It will produce different outcomes. And as a result, your self-esteem will increase. You are not your old beliefs about yourself, okay? You are not the story that your brain built when you were too young to know better. You are your values. And every time you choose to embody them, to honor what is important to you, even in the smallest ways, you are creating new stories ones that say, I am someone who does that. I am someone who speaks up. I am someone who goes first, who chooses courage over comfort, who chooses courage when it's hard. And the more evidence that you collect, the more that story becomes your truth. Not because you've convinced yourself, but because you've lived it. You have the evidence. So pick your value, define it simply, and go find proof that you are that person, because I bet that you are. I know that you are, right? It's there. It's already there. You just haven't been looking for it. Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If this episode hit home, spread the love. Maybe share it with a friend or drop a comment. I'd love to know what landed for you. And remember, your voice matters. Whatever you're holding back, say it anyway.